Whatchu Watchin?
We're back and we're still on Whatchu Watchin. Wanted to feature another MCU flick since it is MCU season. Even though I don't think I don't think we're gonna go how many weeks without MCU content. So I don't know if it's really MCU season, more of like MCU year. I mean, either way, it's gonna keep coming. And what happened was we had the Infinity special, right? So I went back and watched Infinity War and Endgame. Well, I was like, well, I got to watch Age of Ultron. And I was like, well, shoot, now I got to watch Civil War. Basically watching these things backwards. And then I thought, well, I watched Iron Man not too long ago. So I just picked up what Andy did. I'm rewatching the MCU now again. And I picked up Iron Man 2. And definitely want to give these movies their due diligence and make sure you get your money's worth when we talk about them. But I will keep it brief because we are going to focus on WandaVision today. So just real quick, zoom through some notes, give my high-level thoughts. We'll all three rate it, and then we'll move on to the meat for today, which is, of course, WandaVision episodes 1 and 2. Iron Man 2 was released May 7th, 2010, so 2 years after the first Iron Man. The budget for this film was $200 million. That compared to Iron Man 1, Iron Man 1 was $140 million. And this movie, Iron Man 2, made $623 million. Iron Man 1, just for comparison's sake, was 585, so just kind of like that natural progression. When things are going right, the numbers typically seem to go up. We saw that whenever we did the Fast and Furious special, Andy, right? One after the other just kept jumping. It's so fun. So in this one, this is great. We meet Ivan Vanko right out of the gate in the beginning. His dad was a bad guy scientist that worked with Howard Stark. Howard Stark is played by John Slattery in this movie. And he plays Howard Stark most of the times in the MCU films. But what's curious is he didn't play Howard Stark in Captain America: The First Avenger. That's actually Dominic Cooper. But they did bring back John Slattery and he's the one that plays Howard Stark in Avengers Endgame when Tony goes back and sees his dad. So just kind of curious. I was like, they obviously had a different thoughts on Howard Stark just at one point. And in the order, Captain America: The First Avenger does come after this movie. So I guess they were just thinking that Howard Stark, he's very young in Captain America: First Avenger. So I guess that maybe they just wanted to go a totally different route. But either way, I just thought it was curious. This one is coming off of Iron Man 1, whenever Tony Stark came out as Iron Man. And I'll tell you right now, this movie is all about ego. This is Tony Stark at his peak. It opens with him at the Stark Expo. He's got Iron Man cheerleaders behind him, like dancing for him. He's just on top of the world. He's happy to be Iron Man. And then on top of this, we find out that he's dying because the thing in his chest, his original arc reactor, is poisoning him slowly. And because of all this compiling, he's dying, he's Iron Man, his ego gets out of control. He's kind of like a guy on his way out. He's like, he gives the company away to Pepper. He's giving like his money away. There's a joke in there that he gave his money to like Boy Scouts of America without even really thinking about it. He throws a party. He gets drunk. He fights for the first time Don Cheadle playing Rhodes as War Machine. There's like a fight during a party because Tony's just out of control. Couple good cameos about this part in the movie. Elon Musk cameos in this film. He actually talks about Merlin engines and electric jets. Those are things that exist in real life now. Stan Lee cameos as Larry King in this one. Tony is, he's getting so consumed by all the things in the world, just trying to like have adrenaline rushes and doing whatever he wants as he's dying. There's a really cool race scene somewhere in Europe where he actually drives the race car. Remember that? And this is where Ivan attacks him, gets out his big electric whips. He's made an arc reactor. And this is where Tony did not see him coming at all, literally. It's Tony in a car coming around a turn, and Ivan takes him down. This is a story here, again, about ego. And whenever you let your ego get too out of control, you miss things that are right in front of you, and you pay for it. Ivan says to Tony, the world will consume you. And it really does there for a while. Tony gets really depressed. He doesn't want to even like do Iron Man stuff anymore. He's just hanging out in the suit until Nick Fury shows up. He shows up in Iron Man 2 with Agent Coulson. We also meet Natasha Romanoff in this film, who's undercover, working for Tony and Pepper, but Black Widow is introduced in the film. This is where Nick Fury has to get Tony out of that donut, and then they have like a big heart-to-heart. Basically, what happens here is there's a way for Tony to have a new power source for his suit. It's to create a new element, which was left by hints from Howard Stark during like a Stark Expo that was like 30 years ago. So Tony has to do like some of this classic Iron Man stuff. He's in his shop. He has to create this new element, saves his life. One of the funny things in this movie is Hammer Tech, Justin Hammer, played by Sam Rockwell. He's hilarious. He's just spitting one-liners the entire movie. We get S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Coulson in this one too. Tony finds out his dad was a founding member of S.H.I.E.L.D. This leads into direct stuff that happens in Captain America, the First Avenger. Iron Man and War Machine team up for real in this movie toward the end, fighting off the drones created by Ivan Vanko. And then Thor is teased a few times throughout the film. Agent Coulson continuously says, I have something going on in the Southwest. I got to get to New Mexico. And it is also the end credit scene for this film that teases out Thor. It's a great movie. It was so much fun. I remember the hype coming off of Iron Man 1 and seeing that they were going down this road and there was a second Iron Man. It was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Holy shit, here we go. That being said, it gets a lot of flack publicly in the fans' eyes. People speak out against this film, saying it's not that great. I totally disagree, and I'm going to rate it right now. I had so much fun watching it again. It is a Iron Man movie to its core, and I will give it a 3.3. Guys, thanks for letting me get through those notes real quick. Giggler, I know you watched this recently. What are your overall thoughts? Feel free to have the floor and then give us your rating.
Oh, for sure. I can. I mean, you said everything perfectly in your explanation. I just took a couple things I wanted to touch on, like the Elon Musk cameo. That was like one of the few like things that I wrote down in my full rewatch that I did not notice the first time. Now he's the richest man in the world. So, wow, good for him.
Yeah, right. Good job.
This is the closest thing we have to a real life Tony Stark right now, I think. So,
Yeah.
that, and then the Hammer Tech guy. You said Rockwell was his name. That
Yeah.
he's such a punchable face. I was so sick of him by the end of the movie, but that means they casted him perfectly, honestly. And then I wouldn't be surprised if he keeps showing up in other stuff too. I feel like he's been referenced in other movies, I believe. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that. But one of the coolest parts was at the end when they're fighting off all the robots, and Tony tells Rhodey to get down, and he does that just one use gigantic laser that just murks everyone in sight. Like, why does he not just have one of those for like everyone? Just a Thanos one, just cut him right in half, done, game over, it's over.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, surely he used that against Thanos and it just didn't do anything.
Right, that could be, but that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But overall, I would say I go give it about a 3.2. Definitely rewatchable. Not something, not as good as Iron Man 1, but still a great movie. I think that's where people go wrong a lot of times, comparing it to the original. Don't just look at it by itself, and if you want to watch it again, go for it. I loved rewatching it, and I'll rewatch it probably every time it's on TV.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's easy to see, like, especially this is probably like years ago too, right? People saying that they're comparing it to the first one. But now I will challenge any MCU fan. If you sit down, you haven't seen this movie in 8 years, you're gonna be like, oh, this is good. PC Mike, when's the last time you saw it, and what are your thoughts on the movie? And definitely want to hear your rating.
I mean, it's been years, but the big thing that sticks out to me is this is Mickey Rourke's comeback trail after The Wrestler, and I thought he was good in it. I like Mickey Rourke. I know people don't think he was great, but that scene when Tony's driving and he cuts the car, I mean, that's pretty cool. But if you haven't seen Mickey Rourke in The Wrestler, watch it. because that is awesome, and that's what brought him back to probably get this role. But yeah, it's fun. It's on TNT and stuff like that a lot. I'll find myself watching 20, 30 minutes here and there. It's a nice superhero movie. It's not going to win any Oscars. It's not going to blow the doors off the Academy Awards or anything like that, but it's fun. I'm a little lower than you guys. I'm probably like a 2.9, so it's enjoyable. It's not crazy, but yeah, it's an enjoyable movie. And the first one, yeah, you can't compare it. It's hard to compare sequels anyways, but I wouldn't compare this one. I think it can stand alone, and it tells its own little story, but also sets up a lot of stuff in the future.
Well said, good review, and yeah, especially if you're not seeing it for a while. It is it's on a lot. That is one that they throw on those TNT or something, and yeah, it's a good flick. And if you're watching the MCU kind of along with us, thought it'd be nice to kind of know what movies come after this one and what am I going to be watching. I don't know if you guys, I know you just watched it recently, Andy. Maybe you can, if I know you though, you'll watch it again. We have 3 films that follow this one. I mean, all of them follow, but Thor, the original, Captain America, the first Avenger, and then Avengers. I'll give it up because Jesus, look at those 3 movies right there, man. Just plug on our YouTube channel. We always have visuals. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, get over and do that. But will I be watching these 3, all of them, and talking about them on the show? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the whole podcast. So we'll keep it going for you guys. MCU City over here, and boy, oh boy, are we happy to see the Marvel Studios icon with the entry to the movies again. I don't know what you call that. But speaking of which, let's just get right into the meat.